All right, guys. Saturday morning, October 29, 2022. The final pocket change market report for the month of October. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, collectors of all ages. Yes, we are back. We are back once again to talk a little bit about what's been selling on eBay, what have people been finding, and ultimately making money in the process. Of course, that's why we do the PCMR twice a week for you. So thank you guys again for tuning in. This is bound to be pretty fun. So I did this quick little video the other day. Maybe it's not so quick. It was actually longer than probably it needed to be. But 3 of the top quarters that you need to find in 2022 before that calendar flips to 2023. You guys know what I mean. If you didn't watch it, you need to go ahead and check it out. I might even put the link somewhere up here somewhere in this video. But we have seen quite a bit of action on one of the top 3 coins from that list here this week, proving yet again that this is a coin that should be very high on your list, given that a lot of these coins are still in really nice shape when you do find them. They are going to represent possibly the best opportunity to pick up these new varieties and either add them to your collection or sell them for a reasonable amount of money. I mean, the money is just ridiculously good right now with these new doubled dies. You're surely not going to want to miss what the market is doing here on a Saturday morning. So if you're brand new here, welcome. That took a little bit of time. But yeah, we're going to highlight the top finds and sales within the last 48 hours here for you. Again, all these coins coming right out of the wild, whether you're an avid change hunter or searcher, or you're a coin roll hunter. Okay, great stuff to find out there right now. Either to add to your collection at face value, I mean, who could beat that? Or to kind of supplement your income. And there's no better time to do that, seeing as how Christmas is less than 2 months away. So if you're looking to pick up a few $100 extra bucks, look no further than the rolls that you could obtain at the bank. But we are also going to take a look at some coins that people have cherry-picked from a coin shop or show. There's a number of them here today. And I want to leave you guys with this before we jump into the list. It does not matter the condition. The thing can be rough as the day is blue, and people will still buy it if it's a variety or an error that they need. All right, so if you're finding these coins and they're corroded, or they have a little bit of, they're a little bit too nicked up for your taste, just because it looks rough does not mean it doesn't have a secondary market. All right, so I wanted to stress that yet again. And of course, in this video, no graded coins. We don't talk about graded coins because what's the point? Grading errors is so prohibitively expensive that you are absolutely not going to make money by just sending any of these coins there. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into the list. It's a pretty stacked, very deep list, as usual, on a Saturday morning. How about starting out with a coin that I really don't talk a whole lot about? Because, people either A, aren't looking for these, or B, there's just not a lot of them out there. But this is the 2020 Philadelphia Marsh Billings Rockefeller ATB quarter. The coin is in pretty decent shape. I wouldn't see a reason to grade this anything under like a mid-state 62 or 63. It definitely shows very minimal kind of circulation wear. But what are we looking at here? Something really minor. How about a little bit of a strike through accompanied by these feeder finger scrapes? Again, they refer to this, the error experts, by the way, as a field restricted strike through. You could get more information on something like this on a website like Error Reference, which is a really cool website, admin by a number of experts in the industry, including like Mike Diamond and a few others. Go ahead and check it out. So this coin right here, as minor and as innocent as it looks, is a sleeper coin. It's sold for $19.58. So when you find this, I mean, you could certainly keep it if you want it, to add to this type of error attribution set. Or how about just trade it in for a $20 bill. I mean, that's pretty good. Speaking of, the coins that I prefaced earlier about, condition really shouldn't matter. It matters, but, it doesn't have to be everything. 1962D Jefferson nickel has had quite the rough life. I mean, this thing was beat up, through its 60 years of life out there in commerce. It's probably seen a few cup holders in its life with just soda condensation dripping all over these things. So it's no surprise that when we look at something like this, it's all stained up. It's got a spot of green verdigris or corrosion that's on the surface right there on the reverse. So you can see it over the last few letters of Monticello. But really, where this one shines, that most people will tend to kind of overlook due to its condition, is going to be that thin cut die break right there at the base of Jefferson's bust. And that little area is typically where you see Felix Schlage's initials. So it's covered up. That part of the die had broken off, at some point during the minting process of these coins, therefore leaving a void on the die where anything that strikes will be a raised anomaly in that area. And that's because all of the metal flow goes and fills in that broken die piece area. So this particular coin right here, if you don't need it and the condition doesn't really suit you, which I'm sure it's going to be a vast majority of you, probably 75% of my viewing audience, you can always sell this. $21.97 is a really respectable amount of money for something like this. Some would say, wow, that's really overpriced. But might I remind you, cuds are kings in today's market. People are paying more money for these things, and the bigger the better. But, some of the seldom seen cuds like this one here will certainly command a healthy secondary market. All right, so we do have some currency to talk about here this week. How about 1988A $1 bill with an apparent back-to-front wet ink transfer? So it's a partial. You can see that there on the left-hand side. There was a little bit of ink on the impression cylinder prior to the next sheet being fed for the printing process. Consider this a paper equivalent to a clash die, is what it is. At one point, the impression cylinder made contact with the intaglio print of the printing plates without a sheet. All right, so you have that residual ink that's still pretty wet when it makes contact with the next sheet. It's going to place that on there. You can see that on this one pretty cleanly. And it's awfully dark. This is probably a very fresh transfer. But after a few printings, it disappears. And, it's not a full 100% wet ink transfer, but that's okay. This one will still have some sort of relevancy. $51.49 was the sale on this one. 19 total bids on this auction. There's a little bit of the reverse image there. I mean, just showing a note that obviously had circulated quite a bit. It really took someone who knew their stuff or just a curious eye to pull this one out of their wallet and just keep it. And it paid off pretty good with a 52x multiplier. Now, the 1950s Lincoln Wheat cents have just an array of various things you could find. Here's another one here. BIE die chips are very well collected. They used to be a lot more affordable. You could pick these up for 50 cents to $1, like as recently as 4 or 5 years ago. But as the error community and the error market in general had livened up due to the pandemic area of collecting, then everything goes up. So this one right here is a 54S, pretty decent shape. You can see a little bit of the luster in the underneath all of the brown patina there. But yeah, we have a die chip connecting the B&E and Liberty, and that's why they call this the BIE die chip. This particular coin ended up selling for $9.85. A huge departure from the days, the not too distant past days where these things, again, were selling for less than $1. Here's another wet ink transfer, this time on a 1993 $20 bill. We have a lot more of a transfer on this one. And again, it's a back-to-front wet ink. Very attractive $20 bill. I actually like the design of the older 20s. And, you don't appreciate them as much until they're gone. We've been living in a world pretty gosh darn close to 30 years. I'd say we're 4 years removed from 30 years of having these newer, large head type notes. The first gen obviously didn't have any colorization to the paper. But, again, you begin to kind of appreciate these a little bit more. So again, another attractive note, these are always considered kind of like the lower end of the error totem pole for currency. This one sold for $109 with 19 bids. There's a little bit of a back image. This note is actually in really good shape. Probably seeing very little circulation due to that wet ink anomaly on the front, but nonetheless, good looking note. Here's another 20 here. This thing has a lot of stuff going on with it. A 1995 $20 bill this time around. So it's you could say that it's miscut. And if you look at the overprint, it's inverted. So the sheet was fed upside down, in that stack of already printed sheets. So when this one was fed into the press, this is your final outcome of something like this. This is just a wild note. Normally you see these things in a graded holder, but this one, I've seen probably 2 or 3 other examples during the duration of the PCMR period of my channel that, these will pop up on occasion. And if you think you need to get them graded, this is an example that you don't need to. Sold for $341.30 with 24 bids. Again, it's a cost. It's a cost of doing business if you were going to grade these. I mean, realistically, how much do you think this thing would sell for? You think you could get, another $200 out of it? It might be worth it then, but considering, and obviously I'll let you guys know, as kind of a public service announcement, there are long delays from the graders in getting these things back, especially on the coin side, where we're experiencing anywhere from 90 days to as long as 6 months turnaround time on a lot of submissions, especially the more ultra moderns where people are just continuously sending them those coins. So again, another neg on there is the wait time. So always keep that in mind. More currency. I think this might be the last one in this line, but we have a 1981A $20 bill. Grossly misaligned overprint. You can see it's shifted way to the right and then a little bit down. Again, these even show up on new notes. The BEP, sometimes as good as their quality control is, will not catch everything. But as collectors, we do. $174.09 with 19 bids was the final auction on this one. Again, the note's in pretty decent shape. It's nothing really that would detract me from owning something like this if I did need it for a collection. All right, now we're back to the coinage. A lot of you are more receptive to the little jingle jangle of the change. So going back to the nickel of how beat up that thing is, how about this 1984 Lincoln cent? This thing is rough, boy, but I tell you, it's on the list for the same reason why that nickel is. Condition doesn't matter. It's what's on the coin in terms of its variety or error anomaly that means all the world. So you guys see it, a little bit of the raised cut feature here on the rim going into or barely touching the base of Lincoln's bust there. It is a full-blown cut because it goes into the design. This one ended up selling for $25.99. Again, if you think because of its ugly appearance that this thing will sell for anything less, then you really need to pay attention to not only my market videos like this one, but possibly doing your own investigative work. You're going to find that these will always have a lot of value. Cuds are really kings, and I'm willing to bet some of them are queens too because they're that good. All right, so again, condition. At first glance, this 55 Franklin half dollar looks really good, but when you kind of take a closer look, and you don't really need to take that much of a closer look, man, this thing has a pretty heavy gash on the obverse there. So you can see it right here at the rim. So whatever happened, it did a number. You can see also that it also gashed here through the bust of Franklin, and then through Wee, and then the other side of that rim. So yeah, I mean, this is not a coin that would straight grade if it was sent to a grader. Not by a long shot. It would be a details grade coin. But again, you know, it's going to be the finer details that's going to matter here. If you guys are aware of Franklin half dollars, there's some really cool minor clashes called Bugs Bunny clashes, which it turns out it looks like Franklin has vampire teeth. So that's the little eagle on the reverse that's clashed onto the obverse die in just the right area where it will leave these little sharp, jagged teeth-looking things. And these show up on a number of different dates of Franklin half dollars and any mint mark. Some of them are way more tougher to find than others. So always look out for this. 55 is one of the more common ones. I would say probably it is the most common Bugs Bunny clash that you can find. This one right here sold for $22. All right. So when you look at a coin like this that looks at first glance like a mint state coin, but it has that deep gash, man, just go ahead and sell this thing because you may or may not want it based off of that particular amount of information of that damage. So a little food for thought. Okay, so here's a nice little trio of Roosevelt dime off-center strikes. They're not from the same strike, obviously. It's just a lot of three. One of them does have a date. You can see the 1991 P or D right there, the top coin. So, there will be a collector that wants these. Of course, the big highlight is going to be a full readable date with these off-center strikes. So this 3-coin lot sold for $36 with 5 bits is what it ended out at. Could there be a possibility to buy something like this and then flip it in the hopes that you can make more money? On this one, you might be stretched out a little bit, no pun intended. There's not a whole lot of opportunity to, say, double up your money on this, but always keep an eye out for lots of legit error coins. All right, so Maya Angelou has kind of like risen back from the dead. People have found, the cool little corner of mouth die chips, among a few other things, the little die gouge on the eagle bird beak area on the reverse. But now we have a new reason to look out for these, and they have set the secondary market by storm, and that's going to be the doubled earring variants. There's 3 of them that have been attributed by Dr. James Wiles. Here's one right here. You can see the doubled earring right there. This is the VDDR number 1. In case you need to audit that information, you can go on VarietyVista.com. Check those out. So this coin, again, all the rage, $37.94. These used to sell for about $25 when they were first discovered, 2 or 3 months ago, and now they've trickled up to where they're very desirable. And people are continuously looking for these, looking for that other next big discovery of this doubled earring. There's been, again, 3 of them, 1, 2, and 3. Could there be a 4th one on the horizon? I guess we'll find out, it takes some eagle eyes out there to find it. Now, I will say this straight up. This is probably a listing that would be much better suited, sold as individual coins and not a lot of for. When you sell them in bulk, you're pretty much asking for a much lower price for them, as opposed to selling them individually. So this was one of the coins I highlighted on my top 3 quarters list, and it's the Sally Ride 2022P quarters with the amazing field restricted strike throughs going over the Washington's ponytail on each and every single one of them. This is a neat little progression set. Each and every single strike through is a different shape and size, which is really cool. This particular 4-coin set, again, you could have sold this thing for a lot more money if you'd sell them individually. Ended up selling for $31.60 with 5 bids. You probably would have gotten easily a $20 bill out of each of these. Heck, I would have paid you $80 for the set of 4, just so I would have it. I'm actually looking for a few of these, so pretty neat. Very cool little listing here. All right, Statehood Quarter Love coming your way. I believe this is the only one on the list, but this is a minor off-center New York Statehood Quarter, 2001p, of course. Also features a little bit of a partial tilted collar. Decent looking coin. It does have its warts, has a few stains here and there, but aside from that, if you haven't found a New York for a off-center strike collection, this one will probably end up being a good placeholder for such until a better one comes your way. $16.38 was the buy now price, and someone did scoop it up for that. All right, here's another really nice off-center strike, 1977. Not a date that you will find out there, especially in this nice shape. This is 50% off-center with a full readable date. That's cool. That's what matters to this collector base. This one sold for $30. So, again, that's the type of money where, it tells us that it's a tougher date, but it's not one that is rare enough to command a lot more than this. $30, especially for off-center Lincoln Memorials, seems to be kind of like that threshold that people kind of cross if they know that something's a little bit more rarer than the others. So something to keep in mind. If you do come across these at coin shops for like $10 or so, I've seen a number of these that I've picked up in the past and have ripped really good profits off of these. So they will pop up when you least expect it. Here's another good one here, 1944 Lincoln Wheat Cent. It's about 15% off center. Nothing too crazy, but how about a $72 sale on this one? So if someone needed this date, the earlier you go with this type of error, the more that they will be worth. And here's a good one right here because it actually shows up more frequently than you realize. So if you got some bulk silver and a 1900 O is one of those dates, make sure you look out for the O over CC over mid-mark VAM variety. All right, so this one, they can be a little bit tough to look at, but when you have the double spikes here coming out of the right side of the O, that's actually one of the C mint marks that was underpunched. And you'll have sometimes a really nice, crisp other secondary C mint mark here. They'll show up on some of the more earlier die states. So this coin in this condition, keep in mind, this looks more like scrap silver fodder than anything else. $102.50 with 26 bids. The more problem-free examples traditionally sell for a lot more. Some of the ones with problems I've seen sell for $40 to $50. So keep that in mind. Another cool off-center, this time a 1987D. This is an 87, even though it looks like a 1. That is a 7. This one right here is off-center, I'd say about 55%-ish, somewhere in that realm. Very nice coin. Lots of mint luster on this one. Again, someone who needs this for a date set, look no further. This is a good one. $33.50 with 15 bids is a really good sale here. All right, pretty cool. How about a double struck Lincoln Memorial? No readable date. It's from the 1900s. I could tell you at least that much. But it also features a partial brockage on the reverse there where you see that off-center. The secondary strike is roughly about 80% off-center, so that's worth noting. Coin has some staining, corrosion issues too, so it may not be one that you necessarily need to keep in your collection. It would work a lot better if it had a full date or 2 full dates. That'd be awesome. $35.39 sale here. Pretty affordable, but if you have it, you just know that you can make some pretty good money selling these. All right, so this is not a doubled earring, but boy, this one is, it's the most advanced progression of the Drooling die chip. But when you find one with also the die chips or the earlier die chip formations on the bridge of Washington's nose, these are still really solid sellers. People just want these because they don't show up in the market that much. And they are just spectacular looking coins. Washington really needs to learn how to use a napkin. I'm just saying. Because, that could turn into something pretty nasty over time if you don't keep that mouth clean. But anyways, getting back to this, $23.50 with 13 bids was the final sale. I would say that these are still a target. They should be. If they're not, I don't know what you're doing. The sales indicate that these are worthy keepers. So we do have a few more currency pieces. I think we have this and then one other one to round out the list. It's a $20 bill, 1985. Again, some of the older small head type of notes. But this one right here has a pretty cool linear or horizontal ink smear or solvent smear. They're called both. So you have this really nice dark stripe here that goes left to right. Pretty thick, and then you have also this other smaller one as well. So it happens. You see it more on much older notes like this one. You don't see ink smears too much on newer notes, and if you did, they'd be pulled out of the run. This one sold for $99.95, so always a good solid error to find. All right, so there were two bargains. It kind of broke my heart that I didn't see these. I would have picked them up myself. So we have this Washington quarter. This is the dual cud die break error. So it has the sizable cud on the obverse that covers the date. Okay, we know about that one. Pretty well known. It's a Philadelphia minted coin. But also on the reverse, you also have the one that covers up United as well. So the pictures were, I'll be honest, not too good. Make sure you use some pretty good lighting and that you're zooming in the best that you can without distorting the actual quality of the photos. But this one only sold for $40. And we've seen other examples of the same cud sell for over $100. So definitely some money left on the table here. If only these pictures were a little bit better, brighter, crisper. I have no doubt in my mind the seller would have realized a little bit more from this. All right, so I love me some 1972 doubled dies. Always check out your 72s for any of the double dies. There's a lot of them, all right? And most of them are in the Cherry Picker's Guide. As a matter of fact, the first 9 or 10 of them are. So how about the FS103 or the DDO number 3? This one's just a beautiful example as well. A lot of what this seller has are mid-state BU reds. And upon closer examination, this is what you're looking for in the date, liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." Lots of doubling. Not the strongest of the group, but this is a really, really nice one to add to your collection or to resell because these have a ton of value. This one ended up selling for $53.90. So the seller is still doing a really good job selling these and taking really good close-ups. All right, haven't seen one of these in quite some time, but I'm glad to see one here that had sold in the last 2 days. But Cumberland Island quarter has been anything else but fascinating. This one has a pretty good sizable strike through on the reverse. You can see it there on the left tip of the wing going into the that raised outer ring area of the coin, which has all the incuse lettering. So yeah, I've seen a few of these. They do pop up out there, and this is one that typically is ignored. And that's why we don't see as many of these in the open market as we normally do. So this one sold for $10.60. They're not generally the best sellers out there, but if you could trade them for a $10 bill, especially one that's seen quite a bit of circulation, then I would say go for it. But if you want it for your collection, go for that too. Crown die chip, of course, always a searchable staple out there in quarter hunters. But this is the little bit smaller progression of the chip here. Again, this is on a 2021 P. There are die chips similar to this that can be found on Denver coins as well. They are considerably more rare and more valuable. So where are we at on this? This one right here, I would say, is a medium progression. This one sold for $40.60. So very good. 69S Lincoln Memorial Set. I mean, this coin is on here for the traditional reasons that we've talked about in the past. The seller actually put in the listing strike doubling, which is not a doubled die. It's strike doubling, which is ejection doubling or slide doubling or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. But yeah, you can see a little bit of that, the flat shelf-like features on not only the numbers of the date, but the mint mark. So when you have this kind of like weird doubling effect on both the date and mint mark, you know it's strike doubling. So these have a kind of like fringe interest type of affair. That's the only way I could describe it, because people are paying more money generally than what these things are supposed to be worth. This one sold for $29. So keep in mind, the coin is in mint state condition. Collectors of these type of things will want something that is in really, really gorgeous shape. All right, so I have to give this seller some grief. All right, the coin that they sold, in theory, is an amazing coin, 1956 D Lincoln cent. However, they matched up this listing with the obverse, which is what they're selling, with the reverse of an off-center zinc Lincoln Memorial. I mean, are you kidding me? If you're going to sell on eBay, make sure you're using the right photos. Because, you know, this looks more like a troll job and a scam than it really does an actual honest sale. You know, so yeah, I mean, the sale ended up at $38.44, and there were 6 bids. You know, it wasn't like this was a buy it now or anything. So I'm hoping that the owners or the new owners will know that this is a wheat cent and not a memorial back cent, obviously. And, you know, we're talking 2 different eras here, because one is a copper, the other is copper-coated zinc, which is what we don't want. So, yeah, a little word to the wise for those of you that are selling on this platform. Make sure you're using the right photos. All right, here's the other heartbreaker kind of cheap sale. So the Wilma Mankiller Cud die breaks are all the rage right now. This particular one right here has just the obverse Cud with all sorts of strike through on both sides of the coin. And we know that this is a $200 to $300 coin in this market. However, this person sold theirs like overnight hours when everybody's asleep for $105.59. One bidder came in and put a bid down for $99.99. Of course, the total I gave you just now is with shipping costs. So, another thing to point out, that this is a new seller with a feedback of 0. That might play into it a little bit too, but oh boy. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly worth $100 to take a flyer on something like this, hoping that you will get it. If you don't get it, you could always file a case. But yeah, make sure that you're selling these and closing them out at just the right time. You'll make more money that way. You know, it's just good old eBay common sense. All right, another nice example of a 2004D Wisconsin low leaf. So this has the extra engraved leaf that sits low on the reverse here. Good looking piece here. This one ended up selling for $124.95. Prices are slowly ticking up on these in raw condition. All right, so I had to get in a little bit close to this one, but this is indeed a 1982 Roosevelt dime. It's supposed to have a P mint mark, but this one does not have one. So this is the plain no mint mark variety. This is also the strong type as well, where it features a really nice strong strike. There's also a weak version of that that's not worth as much. So this is a really nice BU specimen. $224.99 was the final sale. These are still being found in circulation. Always look for these. All right, we do have a couple more earring Maya Angelous to talk about. 2022P again. This is a VDDR number 1. So this one right here sold for $50. So yeah, these have been kind of falling between that $35 to $50 range. Right currently, when they were selling for about $20-$25, just a short 30 days ago. So man, things have really turned up for this one. But there's also from the same seller a version of the VDDR number 2. So this is the second type of doubled earring that you can find on these. You can see that the earring is doubled inside the actual hoop of that earring, as opposed to the VDDR number 1 where it's outside. Pretty cool. This one is a $39.95 sale. The VDDR number 3 is the rarest out of the 3. Don't let someone fool you and tell you that the number 2 is the rarest, because we've seen one total VDDR number 3 sold on the market, and that was a long time ago, probably a good 2 months ago, back when nobody had even paid attention to those things. But there have been a number of VDDR number 2s that have sold during the last few months. So yeah, this is a good one. $40 sale here on this. Last piece of currency, and boy, it's cool. 1950B $5 bill with a almost horizontal gutter fold. So that used to be some sort of wrinkle in the sheet that was never pressed out during the printing process, thereby leaving a pretty sizable gutter absence of ink. Beautiful example too. I mean, sure, it shows its age. It's got a few edge splits, but for a note that's over 70 years old, I mean, this is really cool find. $89.39 was the sale price on this with 19 bits. So yeah, just on that alone, it's pretty cool. I like these older type finds. And then finally, speaking of older type finds, this is a coin that if you did your digging, coin shops have these low ball type of shield nickels for around $20. All right. I used to find a lot of these up until, people wisened up and knew that actual cuds and retained die breaks on these things are actually desired. So this is an 1867 5-cent shield with no raise on there, and you guys see the pretty nice sized cut right here on the obverse, covering a little bit of the leaves, so a piece of that die had fallen off. Very common to find on not only 5-cent nickels, but 3-cent nickels as well, and the 2-cent types as well also. So even in this condition, pretty good sale at $64.95. Cuds are kings, wearing that crown atop the mighty mountain top castle. So yeah, when you do find them, keep in mind they are easy cash sales for sure. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this edition of the Saturday Pocket Change Market Report for October 29th. We'll see you next month for the next one. Good luck in your hunts. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Did you have a favorite in this one? I had multiple favorites. I'm especially digging the new earring Maya Angelou finds. So if you got them, keep in mind, you don't need to hold on to them. They're going to be worth the most today than they will a year from now. So that's going to wrap it up. Go ahead and do a little hunting. Would love to hear your stories of big time discoveries, and that's going to do it. I'll see you guys later. Sean with BlueRidgeSilverhound out. Take care.